Good magical morning. So, this morning I have decided to talk about manipulation, mainly because it happens on a spiritual level. It's usually caused by religious abuse and spiritual trauma, which is why most people who manipulate, they don't believe in a higher power because something happened that caused them to fear um, religion, fear. Like they would rather believe in Santa Claus before they would believe that there's a higher power. Um, all comes from their upbringing. So, an example of kind of what I'm talking about for those who aren't really understanding for example, the system I came from, um, you would have two couples, two completely different couples, go to the same. We'll call him a pastor uh, for whatever. Um, but both would be in conflict. One's married, one couple, they're not married, they're just living together. And they would go to the same pastor, and one would be like, hey, he's abusive, da da da, whatever. And the person would be like, oh, that's God testing you. You can, you're going to get so many merits, and this like hierarchy into heaven, all these things. And stand strong, all that stuff. Suck it up. The other couple goes, exact same problem. Exact same problem. They go, and his response is, well, don't you think that this is God's way of saying that, maybe you shouldn't be living together in sin? That right there is spiritual manipulation. There is no accountability for the behavior. Instead, that behavior is being used to go in the direction that the system wants these people to go. So all these people are living in this system, and it trickles down into the family system of, oh, well, you shouldn't be, if you hadn't have done this, then that wouldn't have happened, instead of taking accountability for what happened. And so then these children grow up in this environment, and you have two different ways that they go. You have the peacemakers that ends up being the codependents, and those are the ones that control to keep the peace. They're going overboard. They're taking on more tasks than they are physically able to handle, and they're constantly like grinding at that. And then you have the others that take on the manipulative behavior because they figure out how it works. They figure out how to use it against the parents in their system and those around them. They know that that one that's trying to keep the peace will do anything to keep the peace, and so then they can do whatever they want. And in that childhood development, they grow to believe that they are superior to others. One, because they just outsmarted their parents, and two, they just walked all over the sibling, and that sibling didn't fight back. And that's where that complex comes in. And they really do think that they're superior to others because of what just happened in childhood, not recognizing that there's a much bigger, better world out there full of love and light, that is completely foreign to them. So when they are introduced to it, they have to shut it down because they feel that within them, and it is so uncomfortable that they have to shut down, because then they have to face, well, what got me there in the first place, and all of that trauma, that guilt, that shame, that blame, all of that is rushing back to them, and it's usually so overwhelming that they can't face what they've done to become who they are, because then they're thinking about their sibling. Then they have to face that the whole reason that happened was because of the system, and that maybe they do need to forgive themselves, forgive, the parents, but it's so overwhelming because they don't usually find out until way late in life. So it's just like built up. So they would rather destroy reputations. They would rather completely isolate and cut everyone off than to face that tumultuous healing that needs to happen. And if that's you, please reach out to someone, because once you get through that, um, life will be so much better, and you don't have to be alone. You don't have to shut people off, and love doesn't have to be transactional. Um, you can make it through this. And if you find yourself like blowing up in anger, or you know, finding you can't live with the person who's finally had enough, and you can't do this without them, or you can't do that without them, and those kind of things, think about how you're feeling in that moment. What age do you feel? Because normally that it's like it's childhood behavior of that, throwing the tantrum. You got to do everything you can so that, like, if you did something wrong, you need to make it up to mom and dad. It's essentially that same behavior that you're having for your significant other, but you're an adult now. So you don't have to do that. You're safe. You're not going to be abandoned. You're not going to be neglected. You're not going to be abused because you're an adult. You're out of that system now. So take a deep breath, recognize how old you are feeling, and recognize that this reaction that you're having to them trying to break away from you is your own abandonment, insecurity, all of that needs to be faced. Otherwise, that person leaving is just going to keep happening until you face that child within you that just needs to be loved, that just needs freedom. So go sit on a swing, go drive some trucks around in the sand, reconnect with your inner child so that your brain gets the memo that, hey, you're safe now. And then for those of you who are just taking on, trying to keep the peace, stop, because they're going to do whatever they're going to do, whether you're there or not. Just because you stopped it this time is not going to stop it the next time. So let them do what they're going to do. Let them feel the consequences so that they can grow. They cannot grow if you keep cleaning up the mess for them, because then they're never going to face what it's actually doing to you, to themselves, to the system, to the collective at large. They need to learn their lessons, because when you are taking away their lessons, you're essentially taking away their right to free will. And you're also taking away your right to free will. They should be able to do what they want so they can learn, oh, this is what happens when I do what I want. Got it. Same with you. What happens when you do what you want? You're probably going to have a lot of fear of just like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be relaxing. I should be handling something. Take a deep breath. Let it out. Do what you want. And before you know it, you're going to realize just how much energy has been spent trying to fix everyone else's problems. And you're going to get to a point where um, you're going to come off abrasive, but it's just being assertive and it feels foreign to you. So learn how this new you feels saying no, and say no. Because if you don't ever say no, your yes is worthless, because people just assume you're going to say yes. And that is not me. I heard that quote somewhere. No idea where I heard it, but I can't take credit for that. Um, just listening to see what Spirit has to say, and all I keep hearing is love, 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 love. So I guess love everybody. Recognize manipulators are usually emotionally stunted at the age of their trauma. So if there was a lot of neglect and whatnot in childhood, most likely their behavior, just watch them. Before you know it, you're going to be like, wow, they do look like a 6-year-old. And then when you have that mindset, they're easier to deal with. And then if you are that 6-year-old, guess what? You're all grown up now. So when you're trying to get someone to do something, ask yourself first, oh, can I do this? I'm pretty sure I can do this. I'm going to do this and do it. Okay? So yeah, on that note, I'm gonna leave it there, and whoever jives with this, great. Whoever doesn't, great. I might not be your channel, and that's okay. All right, bye.